today we're going to talk about how egos are expensive, not only in life, in family, but in business. So the one big idea is I've seen egos destroy businesses, lifestyles, families. And one of the things that I always have to remind myself, especially in today's world, is in this comparison internet age that is so easy to get caught up in your kind of like the world has defined its yourself, as opposed to one of the things we talked about last episode is putting people first. So, Dad, I want you to kind of tell some stories and kind of give a little bit of background about how you've seen this play out, because you've seen a lot more than I have.
Well, I think you first have to start with what is ego. And the best definition I have ever heard of it is edging God out. And you can take that all the way back to Genesis in original sin, when the serpent came to Adam and Eve and said, if you'll just eat from this tree of knowledge, you will be just like God. That's why he doesn't want you to do this. And if you take that all the way to the human experience today, there's lots of things that can cause a person's ego, edging God out, to become prevalent in their life. And to me, the very first thing is probably an inferiority complex. Not one that's so prevalent that everybody goes, oh, wow, that person really is, edging God out. But it's everything is directing them toward being, you're always the best. Look at what you succeeded. You've achieved so much. We watched this in sports when we were throwing baseballs and footballs. If the kid's whole life, genetically, he was above everybody, they had a certain skill or a talent, and they were always told, you are the best. Now you fast forward that from Little League into maybe junior high school, and then into high school, and into college, and into pros. You can tell very quickly which individual shows up on the field with an ego. And generally, they're very fragile people. They are hurt by words. They're hurt by other people saying, you could always be better. Well, I am the best. Mm-hmm. They don't allow people to critique or coach. It's an attitude as much as anything. And so from an ego perspective, how does that affect you? Well, if the ultimate job in business is to attract and keep good people, and the goal is to put other people first, the bigger your ego, the harder that is. And then the victim mentality sets in. Well, that didn't happen because I'm a victim. That didn't happen because it's an excuse. It's always other people's fault. So to me, an ego is one of the most dangerous things that we have as human beings. Now, we all have the ability to go, boy, I did pretty well at that. But the difference is being able to differentiate that I put the work in. I really worked hard, and that happened. That actually worked. Or I didn't have to work, but it still happened, so it must be just because of me. Mm-hmm. And the challenge I would give everybody is, what if you were writing a letter to somebody and you go, hey, I think this, and I believe this, and I know this, and so forth. And what if you change the I, the first person pronoun, to we? We did this. We know this. We achieved this. Well, the letter takes on a completely different dynamic. It's inclusive. It allows people to feel part of the success. So when an ego shows up, it's very difficult for them to share the success. It's all about me. And if you think of a cliff, you climb that cliff in business all the way up, hard things, but you reach what you think is the pinnacle. And you look back and you believe that nobody helped you along the way. The next step is complete failure. You're going to fall like a rock. And then you're going to be humbled. And if you're smart enough to realize and reflect, you're going to look back and say, now's the time to use the first person pronoun. It was my fault. I didn't put other people first. How could I have done this differently or better? And each time in the world that you and I live in, as long as we stay grounded in God, put Him first, approach Him with humility, with, teach me, Lord, show me what I should be doing. If I'm headed down the wrong path, through prayer, through scripture, through study, you're going to show me that I'm just doing this wrong. I have found personally that if I put everybody else first in a servant leadership position, then my job is to help you be better, whether you're an employee, a client, just a person on the sidewalk, that my life is more fulfilled and gratifying than if I went, well, I need to cut in front of you, whether that's cut in front of you at work or I deserve that promotion or this. Now, what can I do better? Sometimes the environment that you're in is just not going to allow you to be the servant leader that you should be, or just the servant that you should be, because everybody's on this ladder trying to cutthroat. Nobody likes an environment where everybody's trying to backbite and do that sort of thing. Take a moment, humble yourself and say, what can I do to help you? You look like you're having a bad day. How can I help? You'll change your world. Your attitude will change. And all of a sudden, people open up to you unlike they ever have, whether it's a client, whether it's an employee, or just somebody on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we were, this last service at Traders, Pastor Aaron kind of talked about his big piece was the not enough. That's insecurity, right? What's the thing that's holding you back from either your relationship with God, your relationship with your spouse, your kids, at work, right? What's holding you back? And just surrender that. So they did, they gave everybody a pen and a piece of paper, and everyone would write down, their insecurity, what they don't feel like enough at, right? And then at the end, you take it up to the altar and you leave it before God and come back and you worship, that sort of piece. One of the statements you've always said, and I think that this is kind of the same idea, is leave your ego at the door, right? Leave your ego at the altar. Leave that insecurity where it needs to be and surrender yourself to, work, play, that sort of thing. Where have you seen egos get expensive, going even back to your corporate days? What have you seen that really somebody was on the right path and then they let them, they were tripping over themselves as opposed to...
We'll go back to the word insecurity.
Yeah.
Because that generally manifests itself in behavior. And whether that's, I'm so insecure that I've got to find relief somewhere, whether that's in an extramarital affair, whether that's in alcohol, drugs, whether that's in what I would say the petty things such as gossip, things that are conniving. And so if you think about insecurities, how do we remedy those? Well, I want you to think about a tree. So a tree has two ways it grows. And it grows first gravitonic. So the very first thing that happens is that seed falls from the tree, it sinks into the soil, and the taproot starts. Well, if you take that from a human perspective, my taproot has got to be based on study, faith, commitment, goals. That's my taproot. And from there, it starts to spread out. And then all of a sudden, a sprout comes up. That's what's called phototonic. So a tree is going to grow gravitonic and phototonic. And the deeper my taproot, the more study, the more commitment, the more places I put my energy in a positive way toward my goals, now my tree is going to grow. Phototonically, it's going to grow as high as it possibly can to reach the sun. And then it's going to spread out. You think about business, it works exactly the same way. I've got to have, first of all, a skill set that somebody wants to pay me for. I have to have an education or an ability to provide something that people are willing to pay for. And that root keeps going deeper and deeper as I grow. And then my business continues to grow higher. So from an ego perspective, what I see people really falling short of is the fact their taproot is too shallow. They haven't spent enough time to have the self-confidence. Self-confidence is different than ego. Mm-hmm. So if you wrap self-confidence with humility, that I've got more I've got to do. I've got more I have to learn. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room type mentality. I'm willing to listen more than talk.